Well, Banggood have kindly sent me a CX-10 to review. Now, CX-10 was the one that I actually started with nearly 2.5 years ago. It was my very first quad, and I've been absolutely infatuated with the hobby ever since. I absolutely love it. Now, a new CX-10, and I've been through loads of versions of them, thinking, what are they going to do next? For only 2.5 years on, this is incredible. This has an optical flow system, so it can work inside sort of better than a GPS, really, in its own way, and I'll show you how that works in a little while. It's got a camera on it, and it can record video, take stills. It's also got a Wi-Fi FPV system, and it's also got its own transmitter. Pretty impressive, but what's it handle like, and what's all the features do, and has it really improved? Box and everything, as you can see, really nice, sort of clean, slick, this highly polished plastic. So this is what you get for your money with a CX-10 OF, or they're just calling it a CX OF now. It's a cool looking quad. It's sort of got, it's not just printed on the top here, this is angled, sort of got depth into it as well. I don't know, hopefully the camera will pick that up. It is really quite a smart looking top and quite beefy as well. Let's just put it next to the original CX-10. Exactly the same measurement, motor to motor center, but the actual depth of it is you know, huge in comparison because of everything it's got on it basically, and I'll run through that as we go. The LED is exactly the same, so you just turn it on at the back here, and you got red ones at the back and you get the blue ones at the front. The reason they're flashing is it's waiting to bind to the transmitter, or you can bind it to your phone as well, and I'll show you that. You got a 0.3 megapixel camera here, and then we've got the optical flow system at the bottom here. What optical flow does, basically it's looking down obviously at the ground below it, and whatever's on the ground, whatever shapes and patterns, it holds that as the position. So if you fly it somewhere, then stop giving it a direction and stop it over something, it should hover and it will look at something and then keep that in the correct position. So if the wind's blowing or anything, only up to a certain point, this is a very small quadcopter, but any sort of movement, it will stay exactly, should stay exactly where it is. Similar to a GPS system, but this works indoors as well as outdoors. The only thing that can an optical flow system can fail on is something like this, a very smooth surface, because obviously there's nothing for it to pick up unless you came across something that was on the surface, and then it could actually grab it. So they're not absolutely foolproof, but they do work really well. I've got several quads with it on. They're really smart actually. You get a spare set of props, so you got red ones at the front they put, and then white ones at the back. If you do get a bend or anything in the prop, you can usually just bend them back up a bit, because you will have accidents. These things do happen. So long as they're running sort of pretty flat, they're usually very good on the little tiny quads like this. But if you do get a prop that you've really ruined, they give you a little prop removal tool here, and that simply slides underneath into there, and then you push down here and just lever it up. This is much better than trying to just wrench a prop out, and the reason being is that as you pull it out with the prop removal tool, you're putting pressure down onto the body housing, and you're pushing the prop up, and you're not wrenching the motor then through the actual housing. If you just pull this straight up and just hold this down, you're trying to pull the motor through it. It's not really a good idea on these little ones, and you can damage them quite easily with that sort of stuff. So use that, it's pretty good. And also it's got a larger opening at this end, so you can use it on your other quads as well. Yes. If this is your first quad, it won't be your last, I can virtually guarantee that. To charge this up, you get a little a USB adapter into a little charger here, and it's a tiny little connector there. Make sure this little bit here is pointing downwards when you plug it in. Do not force it in the other way, because it will just muck up your battery. So make sure that's round the right way. Plug that into either mains adapter, your car or laptop or a computer. It will glow red that it's charging on a little LED inside, and then when it's finished charging, the LED goes off, so you do know you're charged. Onto the transmitter, and this is a tiny little thing, look at the size of this, but I think it's going to be quite good. Not for pinchers at all, this is definitely for thumbs. It's got these sort of floating paddles here, and to charge this up again, it comes with its own built-in battery, so you don't have to buy anything with this one. This one's really is ready to go. All you've got to do is charge your batteries. Micro USB into the bottom here, and then again, whatever method of charging you want to use for your USB power, no problem at all. When you plug it into charge, when it's charging, this LED goes bright red, and then when it's finished charging, this actually goes off, so you do know your battery is fully charged in there. Onto the transmitter. Now, you don't need your phone to actually fly this quad. You don't need it at all. You could just fly it really nicely on the transmitter, and that's quite a nice way of learning, I think. So I'm going to run through how you would do that. By default, it starts off in, it's called mode 2 flight mode, and basically the throttle's on the left here. You can change it to mode 1 flight mode, which means the throttle swaps over to this side, and what you do down is you hold this button down and turn it on at the same time, and then it will swap what side it's on. I highly recommend you go for mode 2. That's just my choice. Most people fly mode 2, and most of the toy quads that you get that you can't change it on will be in mode 2 rather than any of the other modes. There is actually 4 modes as well, so let's just concentrate on mode 2. It's complicated enough. So this one here controls the height of the quad. So basically this one's got altitude hold, so you leave it in the middle there, and it should just sit with the optical flow on it as well. It will just sit at a certain height anyway, whether the optical flow's on or off, it will still sit at a height. If you want it to ascend, go up, you simply push that up and it will climb up. If you want to come down, you simply pull that down and it will come down. As soon as you let go, it will sort of stabilize. It can drift a little bit up and down, but basically it's going to stop where you let go of the throttle there. And of course, if you do it smoothly, it will move smoothly. To turn it like this is called yawing with quadcopters. So you go like that and it will turn to the right, like this, and it will turn to the left. If you want to go forward or backwards, that's called pitching. You push it this lever forward and it will go forwards, and this one will come backwards. And then if you want to roll, which is basically, it is a roll, it's going over like that. So you go right and left. So it's sort of pitching, if you like, but right and left. So that's roll right and roll left. And obviously any combination of those you can do at the same time. So you can climb, turn, roll and pitch forward, and everything in between. This takes it as being, this is the front of the quadcopter where the little camera is, and so pitching forward is always forward there. If I turn the quadcopter around, and now if I pitch forward, forward is that way, because that's the forward bit of the actual quadcopter. That's easier to get a grip on when you actually use the screen, to be honest, because you're looking from the actual screen, which is obviously always looking out from the front of the quadcopter. But if you bear that in mind when you're flying without the screen on, it's really not that difficult. You soon get used to it. There is a learning curve with these things, and you have to go through it, I'm afraid. You can either turn the transmitter on or the quad. They recommend the transmitter first of all. Turn that on and then just pop the quad on as well. You get flashing LEDs. That tells me that the quad is ready to bind. It's waiting for an instruction off here to actually bind to it. To bind on this particular model, you go up and down on the throttle, and then it stops flashing, and you've got the blue LEDs at the front and you've got the red ones at the back. So now it's sat and it's ready to take off. You've got an auto takeoff button here. You simply press that, the motors will start, it will pump up into the air and sit at a certain level, and with the optical flow system it should literally sit in one position. Then you can choose what you want to do with it. If you want to land, you simply press this button here and it will automatically land, it will come into land. As it's coming into land, you can choose where it goes by using the roll and pitch control, so you can move it around till you bring it to the spot you want to, but it will always keep coming down. And it won't always land on the ground. It can land on your hand, it can land on a table, anything it hits first of all basically, and it stops descending. It will then cut the motors after about a second or so. There is another way of landing. You simply pull the throttle right the way off, hold it down, it will come down to a level point. Once it gets to again a stop point, your hand, table, whatever, it will literally stop, and then it will cut the motors after a second or so. This quad flies in 3 different basic speeds. They're called rates. It starts in low rate, and to alter the rate, so they call that sort of beginner rate. If you press this, you get a beep beep, this flashes, and it then goes into intermediate rates, or rate 2. So it'll be a little bit faster with the way it reacts and everything, and it will go a little bit faster. And then if you press it again, you get 3 flashes, and then that means it's actually in high rates, and they call it advanced rates. So it goes a lot faster around. When you press it again, it just comes back into low rates again. So it's a cyclical thing. If you want to do flips and tricks and stuff like that, you simply press this button here, and then you choose what direction you want it to flip in. So forward, right, backwards or left, and it flips in all directions. It just does a very quick flip and then stabilizes itself. If you don't want to use the optical flow, so you're in an area that you don't want it to hunt around, or you want to get more advanced with your flying, if you simply hold this button here, you get that beep. It now puts it into intermediate rates. It will sit in that rate all the time while you're flying with the optical flow off. So now it will not position hold. It can just float around with the wind or anything that draws it. You get a different flying experience. With optical flow on, if I go right, it will go right. As soon as I let go, it will then fix the position and stop there. If you've got the optical flow off and I go right, it will come across right. As soon as I let go, it will just drift and slowly slow down. It won't stop as quick as with the optical flow. To get it back onto normal flying with the optical flow on, press that one again, and then we should have gone up into high rates, I think. Yeah. Oh, sorry, it goes back into low rates. So it goes back into low rates as soon as you come out of the optical flow. There is another way of starting the motors. You don't have to have it auto take off. You can take control of it yourself. Simply pull those down and out, as you saw there. So down and right and down and left. And if you want to stop it, just down and right, down and left. That will stop it. If you want to calibrate the quadcopter, so put it on if it's acting a little bit strange, not flying particularly well, drifting around a lot, calibration is your best option. Simply pull these two down and right, and then you get flashing LEDs, and that means it's actually calibrated the gyros. It must be on something flat and level, and don't move it while it's doing that. So this time I'm going to fly it on the transmitter and just use the app for the FPV. So first things first, put on the transmitter. It doesn't really matter whether you do a transmitter or the quad first with this one, I don't think. You get the flashing LEDs up and down to bind, and then once we're bound, the LEDs stop flashing. So before we actually launch the app, just check on your Wi-Fi settings that you've actually picked it up, and I have, because I've been on this before. It's automatically gone back to it. Come back to your home page and then start the app, and then we're going to go free flight on this one. And now what it's done is, because we've got the controls up, it would be controlled from here, not from the transmitter. So we need to turn the controls off and press the I, and that takes it off. So now we're going to fly on the transmitter. And I'm going to start the video first of all, and then take off sort of manually rather than. So you can start them at, wow, those motors are really quiet. God, they really are. These things are so quiet till they actually get in the air. Then the little CX-10s tend to make a real screaming noise. So go. So it all starts in low rates, and of course we've got the optical flow, so it won't keep. It's drifting a tiny bit. This is a weird surface for it to pick up on, so it may well drift. But it, yeah, you can see it's got the optical flow because it literally stops moving as soon as I let go of the pitch. So pitch forward, you see it's fighting it and stops immediately. If I turn off the optical flow, if I pitch forward and then leave it, it will drift forward, back, and it will just keep drifting. So with the optical flow on, like that, it will stop a lot quicker. There we go, you can see. So let's try a flip first of all. That's it. Whee! You just have to hold it down for a second, and you choose what direction you want it to go in. The optical flow's really sort of struggling. Oh, there we go. So it's sort of holding steady now. You should be able to, there we go. Should be able to sort of pass it around. As it should follow your hand, because it's trying to, it lines up with the lines on your hand then. So that should be in low rates. It looks pretty low. I'm going to click it up into second rates, and even that's not very anxious, and it's more of an indoor flyer. It's just quite a still evening, so I thought I'd give it a go outside. And then up into high rate, and you get 3 beeps. You get a little flash off the LED as well, which is rather cool on this one. So that's it, and the yaw isn't mad, it's just a nice, not too anxious. So it's still very flyable. That is full pitch in slow rates though, so it's really not very fast. And that's down into low rates, you can see it difference there. So it's low, medium, high. You can see it go there. We've got, if you want to land, you just bring it into land. It probably will struggle. Oh no, it was okay. Just pull the throttle right off, and whenever it hits the ground, a table, your hand, whatever, as soon as it stops basically descending, it will kill the motors. Let's give that a go with just auto takeoff.
and you can auto land as well, so you just press that and then you can choose where you want it to land. So I can still, with the direction one, I can still choose where I'm going to go with that one. Well, that only comes up, well, probably about 1.5 meters, nearly 2 meters, isn't it, it came up to. So let's see for range. Probably 30 meters, which is about where those trees are, and that would probably be pushing it, to be honest. It is a little tiny quad. Oh, and the Wi-Fi is locked out. Oh, there we go. So we've lost it off the Wi-Fi. All it does when it loses signal, it will just drop down. That's not the Wi-Fi, sorry, off the transmitter. So we're back on. There we go. So I can start it up again. If I'd have kept arming the motors as I walked towards it, it would have got a little bit quicker than that. So there we go. So yeah, pretty good. The optical flow is, I'm trying to find somewhere that, my garden's all either grass or gravel, so it's a little bit difficult for it, but let's see if we can get it over the plants there and see whether that makes any difference. There we go. No, it's still sort of got a bit of a drift on it, hasn't it? You can see it sort of pulsing around trying to find something to sort of lock on. And optical flow only works to a certain height. If I take it right up, it will actually run out. I mean, that's not bad. If I take the optical flow off, there we go, now it's going to drift away. It's the tiniest bit of breeze in the garden, I mean tiny. Well, that'll be enough to get that, because if I turn it round, it's still going the same way. With just the breeze coming around the house. There we go. Actually, not a bad flight time on this. I mean, it's amazing because it's quite a lot of weight there as well. I quite like it with the optical flow off, to be honest. Well, I just it's a little CX10, so my original one never had optical flow, and it's just damn good fun to fly. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah, whoops. So that's basically, I didn't see the flashing LED, so having said we were getting a great flight, I'm going to stop the video running. Always stop it, don't just turn the quad off, because you could possibly lose the end of your video. Well, it doesn't write the end bit, so the video is unplayable basically. If you want to fly the CFOF with your app, you need to turn the quad on first of all, and that will set up its little Wi-Fi hotspot like I said before. Go into your Wi-Fi settings, and because we've already been on it, I'm pretty sure it will have already connected, and yes it has, so that's good. Go back, launch the app, and then we're going to go into free flight, and we're all bound. The LEDs have stopped flashing, yep, and the Wi-Fi, yeah, the camera is working fine. We're getting the feedback for the FPV and everything. So I've done a video on how to fly with apps, and it's basically identical to this one, just a couple of little changes, and I'll put a link down in description for you so you can go and have a look at that if you're not familiar with flying with apps. I'm going to start the video. I love the way you get the really loud beeps with this one, it's good. And then we'll take off. Whee! This thing, you just sort of breathe on the takeoff button, off it goes. Thank you very much. Now on apps I find they fire really slowly, so I'm pushing that at full pitch. That's it, at full pitch and 30%, so it's really slow. Which is good if you're learning to fly. I don't have any problems with that. Slow's good sometimes. Let's see whether it'll flip. Oh, it does flip. Huh. So you just simply press the flip button. You obviously don't get a choice of what way it's going to flip. Let's flip rather well. It's rapid. Oh, it flips forward, backwards. Oh, so it just does a forward and backward flip. That's the way it does it. Got it. Okay. So your controls are all the same, and then you can up the rates here, which is rather good. So I'm going to pop it up to 60%. Oh, that's not too bad. Sometimes they just never get a move on the app, so that's pretty good. Then up to 100%, and obviously we're not getting anything moving around because we're on the optical flow. I mean, this really is an indoor fly, but it just had really good weather, so hey, in Scotland if you get good weather, you're out. You get kicked out of the house even if we don't have good weather, I can tell you. Okay, so if you want to land, you can press the auto land button here. Whoops! And then as soon as it comes down and touches something level, a ground table, whatever, or your hand, it will just kill the motors. I'm going to stop that video and then restart it. And then if you want, you can come in and land, you know, by yourself. So you can just use the throttle, just pull that off, and again it will just come down and stop. And just be careful, the props are obviously spinning, but you're really not going to get injured by these at all. The other thing this one has is it's got a pathway, so you can send it on a voyage if you like, on a journey of discovery. I really don't think they're that great, but I will do it for you. I've got it, so why not? So what you do is you bring it to a level where you sort of want it, and then if you go into this bit, it takes out the right hand side on the controls, and then you just literally send it off where you want it to go. There you go, and it does the loop of what you want. So it should do a figure of 8, and you can still alter the height and turn it around and everything as it's doing this, but I just don't really get it, because you can't get it to do it again. So I couldn't fly it through my hoops once and then fly it through my hoops again, sort of thing. So there we go. I mean, this one does actually work, so that's quite good. So I don't know if we can do a tigger around the loop the alley-oop. Whoops. I think it's really thrilled that I did that. I'm actually going to turn that off, because it actually makes me quite nervous the way it works. There we go. And the other thing you can do with apps is you can fly on your gyro on your phone. So if I pop that on, there we go. Then if I go forward, it goes forward. If I tilt forward, sorry, tilt backwards, it comes back. Right and left, and you can do any sort of angle you like as well. And then you can still alter what way it's going and everything with your controls. But I don't know why I hold this thing up when I do it. I just always hold it up at this height, and then I can't see anything. But, I don't know why. It's not an age thing, I can tell you. It's definitely not age. There we go. So it actually works really well. Yeah, so it's easier if you put it in headless mode, which I've not actually played around with. I don't use headless mode, but I can sort of see an application for it there. Have we got headless? No, I can't see headless on there at all. No. So you can do a little selfie if you want. That's sort of what I've aimed at. Chow! Did it go off? Oh yes, and look at that working now. It's absolutely perfect. I've actually got a good flight time as well. Oh, we're just getting flashing LEDs. No, we're not. That's amazing. That is incredible. A great little flight. I'm amazed how long the battery lasts, because this thing's carrying quite a bit of weight. And I can actually, I don't think I'm getting better on the apps. I think the apps are getting better. I can actually fly this one, because some of them are, it's not pleasant to watch, should we say. Oh, now we're getting flashing LEDs. Whoops. And also, if you look down at the control, not watching your quad, that's what happens to you. So, no damage done as per normal with the little CX10s. Oh, well, it's gone off. The 10's disappeared, doesn't it? The CX-OF. Really don't get any damage. Oh, tiny bit of prop damage there. But look, just take that out. Just make sure they're all nice and level, and that should be fine to go again. There we go. Whoa! I'll bring it into land because we've. Oops. Of course, with the optical flow, it really struggles with my hand because I put it underneath it, and then any sort of movement, of course, it tries to recenter itself. I wonder if we can do the bit where you. I don't know. It's not got enough power now. Whoops. So it's yeah. There is. You can actually do it with an optical flow if you can get it that it's picking out the lines on your hand there, and then if you go like that, it's like feng shui. You can just put your hand above and below and sort of do this action, and impress all your friends. Well, maybe not. Got a glorious morning here, and there's a little bit of breeze in the garden, so it'll be interesting how the optical flow keeps it in one position, even though I do make it struggle on here. And today we're going to try the choreography. So we can choose how you actually want it to fly. So, and you've got a sort of timeline here that you can add to it. So we can we take off obviously, and then it will go up and down. We can do these spinny, loopy round things. But I think some of these are disabled. I don't seem to be able to get these actually working. But they're obviously something perhaps you add to them. And you can go back and forwards, and then you can sort of oscillate and do all sorts of stuff. And then, is that one the one that you bring it back in? That one's the one, then you bring it back into land basically. So let's see how we get on. I'm going to do it reasonably open. I'm not too sure how far it'll go or what it'll do. So then we just press start. Up we go. Oh, and you've got the music as well. There we go. It sort of pops up, pumps down. Up, down. I'm doing a little shimmy there. Oh, I could do that too. And then it rotates. This is where it jumps up and smacks me in the face, isn't it? And then down the land. And that's basically it. It's different. Like I say, I don't know if there's something else to download to get these other real sort of wiggly things going on. Just before and just after left root and all this sort of stuff. I don't know. Whatever I try, I can't seem to do it. And in here you got the menu of demonstration and everything else you can do as well, and you can store them as well. So it's quite. I mean, personally, I would say it was aimed at kids, which is fine. I mean, you know, if I was young and had that, and it could funk around in your bedroom and do those sort of things, I think it could be quite good fun. So, and to delete them, you just simply press them.
So what do I think of the little CXOF? Well, it'll always be a CX10OF to me. Just because they've dropped the 10 doesn't mean I have to. And I'm still not dropping my original 10 because I still love this thing. It's still damn good fun to fly around in the house. And as you can see outside, they can cope with a tiny bit of wind. But they're really indoor flies and really good fun. There's a big weight difference. This is actually twice the weight of this. This comes in at 24 grams. This is 12. And you can see with the props there's a big difference, and there's going to be a difference in motor sizes. I haven't taken it apart, but there's no need to. It works fine, so why would I bother taking it apart? It's and if you needed to replace the battery, I mean, they last for ages because you're constantly charging them up and going out for a flight, charging it up and playing around with it, so they do last for absolutely ages. It's 120 milliamp hour, and it's a single cell, obviously. Now, the astute of you might have spotted that there's two different colours been appearing in this review. That's purely because they sent me two, and so I did some studio work with the red one, then I went out and flew the blue one, and now I've actually lent the red one to a friend, so I haven't got that at the moment. That's why there's two colours, if anyone's wondering what on earth was going on. Did I like it? Yeah, I liked it. It was really good. I quite like these transmitters, but being perfectly honest, and I try and do that with the reviews, 25 metres didn't seem very far these days. We seem to be going further. And then I sort of look at this and think, why on earth would I want to fly this more than 25 metres away from me? It was just on 30 metres, I think it started to drop out. And the nice thing is, if you get a bit of a shift on, as it's coming down, if you walk towards it, it'll rebind and you'll be able to keep it up anyway. So long as you can walk across to it, so long as you're not flying over water and it starts to drop, you would be absolutely fine. And the interesting thing was the video didn't stop recording. It stopped recording, sorry, and then it restarted automatically. I didn't have to press the video button for it to restart, so that was good. I just missed a bit while I was on total dropout, which you would understand. The flipping was pretty good on it. I thought that was pretty excellent, and the app was really good. I like that. I don't think I'm getting better at flying with apps, but I think the apps are getting better to fly with, and they're really working well, and this one worked really well. As for the choreography, the dance mode, just really not my thing, but I'm starting to find with the reviews I'm doing now is, I can't sort of look at it and be honest and say, oh no, I really like that choreography, it's fantastic, look what it does. Just not my thing. But in honesty, if I was young and, I was using this in a bedroom or had my mates around or something, and, you had some music going or something, the bopping around and to program it up and then to save it and do things with it was pretty good, I thought. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? But in the right hands, I'm sure it would be really good fun. And with that, you could actually sort of set up little courses, I suppose, and everything. Saying about courses and that, you know, I still don't get the journey mode thing that you get on the app. And again, just not for me. I'm just not seeing the sense in it. And someone will point out a huge sense in it at one stage. 3 different rates, 3 different powers, definitely. Auto takeoff, auto land works. And then obviously the main thing with this is the optical flow. And they quote that it works better at 3 to 5 meters. And I find that strange because I go in old money. So 3 meters is 10 foot. Well, 10 foot above the ground is not really where I want to be flying something this small. I would be flying it at 5 to 6 feet, I would say. So less than 2 meters high, I would have thought, or a bit lower. But I suppose if it's designed as a selfie one, perhaps you want it up in the air a bit. Again, just my personal choice. It's my review channel, so that's what they're going to get. So no, I really enjoyed it. Yep, good fun to play with. And if you're new to quads and everything, having the optical flow, very good. It does keep it in one position pretty much. And then you can always, the nice thing is you can turn it off and then actually fly without optical flow, but you've still got the altitude hold. So yeah, it's really nice. I enjoy flying it.